See, good morning. We are going to deal with the fourth poem in our second module, that is The Chimney Sweeper by William Blake. That is our poem, The Chimney Sweeper. Before moving to the poem, before the explanation, I would like to talk something about the poet. If not an in-depth study, which you are supposed to do in your history of English literature paper itself. We will try to see what this writer, how his writing stands during his time of living or during his time of being in literature and the process of his creativity. How did he contribute or did he stay out from other writers of this century? So these things actually we have with every poet we are trying to see that because poetry or creativity is ultimately about making it something different, having a style of your own, a writing style or a theme as such, the presentation style. See, think about that. Different teachers are dealing with different papers. Some of them are dealing with the same genre, like poetry paper. It's divided among two teachers. But the way two teachers deal with poems may be different. Think about history of English literature paper. Think about grammar paper. Even the way we deal with, even though the content is something same, the way every teacher, different teachers deal with that may be different. The same way, same themes, even though some of those poets I told you, the writers of romanticism in general preferred to return to nature. Actually, we talk about that age to be a return to nature. But in fact, even among them, we could see a lot of differences in their approach towards writing, towards the act of writing, their approach, the way they used language, the way they preferred about using language, everything was different. To talk about William Blake, actually we cannot list him out under romanticism, romantic revival. We listed out some prominent writers, figures under that particular category, like William Wordsworth, Coleridge, Shelley, Keats, all of them, we listed out their names. Just wait. Regarding William Blake, we cannot actually incorporate or list him out under this romantic category, romantic writers. He's not actually a romantic writer. But some of these writers, like William Blake, Robert Burns, Robert Burns, you are somewhat familiar with. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose. For that example, we take that particular composition from him. It's a very famous lines that we usually use for giving the example of for a simile, then metaphor. So Robert Burns, William Blake, such writers are called the poets of transition. They belong to the age of transition. Now about that term, what do you mean by this age of transition? Or what do you mean by the term transition? Transition as such, actually, to make it very simple, transition as an idea, you can take that to be actually think about your age, like teenage. After that, where do you go? Or like you talk about adolescent age, you talk about middle age, you talk about your being old age, your age, old age, you're getting old. So that actually during all this period, you can see a kind of transition, transformation in you. A transition, it's a smooth going from one phase to the other. If there is a markable difference, notable difference, such a moving, though very smooth, we can remark, we can point out very prominent features for such ages. We can find out very prominent features for such ages. You get the idea. So that age of transition also. Actually, we know romantic revival is a very drastic change in literature. The writings, the writers, their attitude, their stance, everything was extremely different, entirely different from the writers or even of their contemporaries. We can say that. So this is about these poets. Actually, the poets or writers belonging to the age of transition is actually making a smooth uh, moving from one phase to another. From a phase which is very rigid in its rule, composition, prosody based rules and all. Like in poetry, neoclassicism. That was there actually between romanticism. But in between, you can see these writers who are not completely revolutionary or romantic in nature, or they have not completely returned to nature. Like unlike the romantics, romanticism actually is about praising the nature, holding and going back to nature. But these people actually mark a shift in between, not completely strictly rigid like the neoclassicism. The term classicism, hope you are having an idea at least now. Okay. So in that way, we can see William Blake also holding a kind of difference in his writing and approach towards his writings as such. So that is the basic idea that I would like to get to at present. Okay, but now let us go to this poem and see what he has for, what the kind of composition, what the kind of writing he opts for, the themes he opts for, or such writers in general opt for. We cannot always say that, okay, all of them take only this kind of a theme. But obviously, we can locate a kind of choice in their stance towards certain kind of themes or subject matter. Hmm? Yes. So, Chimney Sweeper, as usual, I'm going to read out the poem first before getting you a complete explanation and all. Let us read the poem. And I will, in between, I will try to uh, emphasize the major points, major ideas with some highlighting so that you also can read in between, grasp in between. Try to see whether you can find out some elements of understanding what this poem is all about before my explanation itself. Okay. When my mother died, so there is a speaker. We can assume the presence of a speaker here. So about he or she talks about he. Actually, we are going to talk about a boy. I will get you that in the very beginning. I was very young. I was very young. Please note down all this. And my father sold me, while yet my tongue could scarcely cry. Please note down the term scarcely. Weep, weep, weep. Scarcely cry, weep, weep, weep. Please note down this particular term that is repeated. It has much significance in this context. Weep, weep, weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in sort I sleep. And in sort actually it should be and a and d self. And in sort I sleep. And so your chimneys I sweep. Chimneys I sweep. What is the title of the poem? Chimney Sweeper. Who is the writer? William Blake. So and in sort I sleep. Sort I sleep. Okay. After that, there is little Tom Decker. There's little Tom Decker. Okay, we can see a speaker here, and he is mentioning another person, yet another person, Tom Decker, and who cried when his head, who cried, emphasizing that, when his head that curled like a lamb's back. Means, okay, maybe talking about the hair. Curled like a lamb's back. When you talk about head and curls on that, it may be about head. So this is the way you take a reference from different. It's not directly told like hairs on his head. Instead, this is what you mean by the poetic technique. Poetry composition. It's not something directly given as you read a newspaper or something. Okay. Yes. Lamb's back. So when his head that curled like a lamb's back was shaved. It's about shaving the hair, removing the hair on his head. Some person, Tom Decker, he's mentioning, this poet is mentioning, sorry, the speaker is mentioning about another person. Let's see who that one is. So I said, "Hush, Tom, never mind it, never mind it. Hush, Tom, never mind it." That's again a particular reference. Like sometimes we use such terms like in interjections, and or you come across such terms like "whoa," "alas," "ayyo," "oh," all those. So such way you can see this. Hush, Tom, never mind it. For when your head's yeah, just wait. That's little Tom Decker, that was the name I mentioned, who cried when his head, that curled like a lamb's back, was shaved. So I said, "Yes, Tom, never mind it. For when your head is bare, you know that the salt cannot spoil your white hair. You know that? The salt means that dark black color material in a from a chimney, actually this context in view of the social living lifestyle in Britain during the time of composing this poem is to be taken for granted, taken care of. So chimney sweepers, why all of them are there? Why this chimney and why these sweepers? Why this young child is talking about cleaning the chimney? All these doubts are there in between. Right. So, that salt cannot spoil your white hair. One person is advising or suggesting the other, don't worry about your hair. You're just reading. Anyway, let us just read and then come back to this white hair. So it cannot spoil your white hair. Then, and so he was quiet. Uh, and it should be like this. Quiet and that very night he was quiet. Tom Decker. And that very night, as Tom was sleeping, he had such a sight. While sleeping, he had such a sight. Such a sight. Wow, such a sight. It's an exclamation. That thousands of sweepers, like these people, these two persons. Now we mark down the presence of two people. Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack were all of them locked up in coffins of black. Different names he just list out. After that he says, were all of them locked up in coffins of black. Then, and by came an angel. After that, he talks about the coming of an angel who had a bright key. And he opened the coffins. And set them all free. See this, please note down all this. You can underline that lines in your note. We just highlight that part, these parts. Opened all the coffins and set them free. Then down a green plain, leaping, laughing, they run down a green plain. Laughing, leaping, laughing, they run and wash in a river and shine in the sun. And wash in a river and shine in the sun. Then naked and white, then naked and white. All their bags left behind, all their bags left behind. Something very positive signs we mark down in green. They rise upon clouds, they rise upon clouds. And spot in the wind, and spot in the wind. You're talking about something very beautiful, something greenery. And the angel told Tom, the angel told Tom, if he'd be a good boy, angel told Tom, if he would be a good boy, he would be a good boy, he would have God for his father and never want joy, and never want joy. Would have God for his father and never want joy. So please note down all this. And so Tom awoke. In between, so Tom awoke. And we rose in the dark. We rose, R-O-S-E, rose. What is that rose here? Rise, rose. Second term, V2 form actually. It's not about the rose flower or anything. It's a V2 form of rise. Okay, yes. And got with our bags. And got with our bags. And got with our bags and our brushes to work. Going back again to the dangerous part. Brushes to you. They are going back after waking up. They are again back to work. There is no dream. There is no cloud. There is no wind. There is no spotting in the wind. Though the morning was cold. Tom was happy and warm. Tom was happy and warm. So if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. So if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. This is a heavy social criticism. You can mark down a high level of social criticism here. A communist tone is here for the working class. There is a clear picture of the England, the society during the age of industrial revolution. You can see here when people are divided on the basis of their financial status, where some are rich like anything, but a sector of society is actually sidelined to the dungeon of poverty. So we can see all these in just a few lines. The writer points out everything. Actually, William Blake, his poems are categorized in between songs of innocence and songs of experience. Actually, this is from Songs of Innocence. We know. Now I'm going to explain the poem for you. Now to the poem. When my mother died, I was very young. Obviously, the speaker of the poem is a very small child, at least a boy. He's talking about his very young age. But we can assume that child, even he is not very grown up a person, we assume that person to be again a boy here, comparatively grown up. But when his mother died, he was very young. And what happened? What did his father do? He sold this child He sold the child to some people, some rich people, or during that time actually. Okay, that is what we have to discuss in the very beginning. Chimney sweepers. Why they are there? Nowadays we do not see such a profession. Actually in India, uh, we do not see, or we couldn't locate such profession, such as a profession like chimney sweepers as a professional sector in countries like India. But in countries like Britain, where there is hard hitting winter, well, and again, this is a time when technology was not developed. Nowadays, we know how do these people, when it is a intolerable winter and cold, actually they have see 90 percentage of their climate, their climatic condition is with winter, cold, very low temperature, and they need something heating devices at their home to survive. Unlike the kind of winter, the cold climate that we come across, Indians or in Kerala, also we have winter season. But we do not have a constant climate as such. Like winter, complete, full, almost complete 90 percentage of the time of a year. We don't have to afford winter. The winter is an unaffordable kind. And actually, William Blake or any writer of this time talks about a time period where where these people didn't have technology developed as such, like heater. Nowadays, we can if you go to any Western country, any Western home setting, you can see heating device throughout. It's not about the heater that we use for see having hot water and all. No, it's about complete building to heat the complete building. Instead of what we use air conditioning at our home setting, house setting, building settings, because we have at times unaffordable temperature, heat, hot temperature. They have the reverse instead, and they need such a device. Nowadays, technology has developed and they have such a situation conditions at home, or any buildings hold such a technological support. But there was a time, especially think about that 17th and 18th or such centuries, where industrial revolution couldn't make markets whole impact in every realm. Obviously, technology was developing, but couldn't go to the perfect level of assuring everyone with such technical devices and all, where people used it to heat, to provide heat or get heat or hot temperature balancing in buildings using chimneys. Like you are burning some materials, you have chimneys constantly, not just for the sake of preparing food and all, something that we connect with our, yeah, it's not like that such chimneys. Nowadays we have stoves and all with a chimney such arrangement. Not even that, but extremely large chimneys for burning such fuels and all throughout the day, throughout all the months. They are burning and burning for getting heat, balance of temperature at home. And in that case, you need such a chimney wise arrangement, and because of this reason, chimney sweepers as a professional sector began to be there, or were there. That sector was there in Western nations during that time. And think about a father selling the child when his mother died to some rich people for getting, selling is a process in which there is obviously a financial transfer, see, money transfer is involved. So can you blame this father? You have to think. We don't know what kind of a father he is. Sometimes he may be suffering with the poverty. Couldn't even provide for himself. So he doesn't want that child to be a burden. Sometimes he may be a very uh, greedy father. We don't know. We don't get such mentioning here. But this is a representation of the social picture of England during that time. You can definitely take it in that way. So when you see a father selling the child, especially a father belonging to a poor sector, financially backward sector of the society, you can think about two possibilities. Either the person is a cruel one who doesn't want to take the responsibility of the child after the death of his mother, or he can be a person who is suffering to the extreme, who cannot support himself even. So he doesn't want the child to be a burden, and he sells him out for that reason. Both possibilities you have to assume, because you cannot completely blame this person blindly. As we see what kind of a financial or social situation was looming large in Britain, London, whichever that western areas during the time of industrial revolution. Okay, yes, pulse told me, while yet my tongue could scarcely cry weep, 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 weep. He says weep, weep, weep. That can signify the cry of the child, but at the same time, what is the profession he is involved in? He is involved in this act of sweeping, the profession of sweeping. So that I couldn't even cry, scarcely means he couldn't. It's negative, negation. Scarcely cry, sweep. He means that. I couldn't even pronounce that term well, properly. Because I was that young when I got sold. This is what the child says. So at the very young stage, he is thrown to the such a profession. Actually, not a very enjoyable profession, but a profession that is demanding that much stress and strain from any person, especially a child. Okay, yeah. Now, this little Tom Decker. Now, why does he mention another person and we read out some other names? Obviously, it means not just one or two, but many are there in this line. So, you can take this as a child labor. The issue of child labor is mentioned here. Think about a poem, the capability, the potentiality of a poem. How much it is loaded. It's loaded like it is heavily loaded. A poem is heavily loaded. Though in some 4 to 5 stanzas, a poem in a few stanzas, 6 stanzas actually. This poem is in 6 stanzas, 4 line each. We cannot say that any other like sonnet, nothing like that. But anyway, it has a structure of its own. 4 stanza each, sorry, four lines each and 6 stanzas. You can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here he talks about Tom Decker, yet another child like him, who cried when his head that curled like a lamb's back was shaved. So you can assume the kind of treatment these kids get. A person, a little child, another, maybe a friend of him, with a curled head, who may be in love of who love with that kind of a hair, curled hair and all. Some people prefer that. And this obviously, as a child, that Tom Decker loved his hair curled like a lamb's back, but it got shaved. So maybe some persons who are in charge of these little kids, during child labor and all, in the situation where child labor is prominent, obviously some controlling heads are there who control, who demand something from the kids, who demand their work throughout without providing them much. All these problems are there. They do not get any proper human treatment. So here, in between, you come across another child's problem, sorrow, whose head, actually his hair was shaved. But now, this very young child, who was actually exposed to any kind of problems from the very young stage, is now capable of finding solutions, suggesting solutions for anyone's problem, we see. Hush, Tom, never mind it. Don't worry, never mind it. For when your head is bare, for when your head is bare, bare means bald. It's completely shaven. It's shaven. They have already shaven it. Shaved. Shaved. Okay, shaved. Sorry, shaved. It's bare now. Okay, it's good. Take it as good because you know that the salt cannot spoil your white hair. If you have white hair and on your head, when you climb the chimney, actually why these little kids are selected for that? Chimneys are, the way it is constructed. So very small, narrow space in between. So if kids are opted for that, they can go inside the chimneys and clean those well. The purpose is to, see, emit, like it's about throwing out the kind of for fuel, the form it is formed out of the kind of fuel when burning the waste, all those coming out. It's about cleaning. So once it is not, if it is not cleaned, you will be having the problem. When it is blocked, you have a different kind of, it's for complete fog and all will come and cover the entire building. Just think about our chimneys once blocked, when you have, even it is a very little stove arrangement. It's problematic. So that is why very little kids are opted. There is another, another phase for that, another reason. That is another reason for this. And when these little kids are going inside the chimneys to clean those, obviously they are completely covered in salt, that black remaining inside the chimneys. We come across that salt, kairi. So now this little kid suggests, our speaker suggests the other one, Tom Decker, maybe his friend or companion, that, oh, it's good that now you don't have to worry, your beautiful white hair will not be covered in salt anymore. We always say only if wall you can draw picture. ചുമരുണ്ടെങ്കിലല്ലേ ചിത്രം വരക്കാൻ പറ്റും. So in the same way, if you have hair, then only it will be covered in black and you will be unhappy again. So it's good that you don't have hair. Simple solution. How beautiful a solution. But actually this is a critical remark. Actually there is a sarcasm. Like we are denied of anything and everything. We are denied of everything. We are denied of everything. Okay. Your white hair. So now, and so he was quiet. And so he was quiet. Okay, that's fine. That's really right. What you say, it's right. So, and that very night, as Tom was sleeping. It's a very unusual way of either asleep or sleeping. But here, the poet, it's about the poetic freedom. That also is there. Using the language, subverting the language. the order of the words, like we normally say like subject, word, verb, or object, and all. Here in poetic composition, nothing as such. You can play with the language. As Tom was sleeping, he had such a sight, means a dream. The thousands of sweepers. Now you know, you can understand that thousands of sweepers stand for the numerous kids who are thrown into such a profession at a very young age. It's not a very silly task or simple task, but they suffer like anything. They suffer like anything. Yeah. The thousands of sweepers. Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. There are some names. He just gives some, lists out a few. Were all of them locked up in coffins of black. Were all of them locked up in coffins of black. Now what? That is the first view. All of them are locked up in a coffin of black, completely in sort. Coffin means, yeah, you know, that kind of a box that they used to keep the dead bodies and all. Actually, while burying. But here they have such a kind of such a very disturbing dream in between this person, actually Tom Tucker. But it's going to be very positive. Like by came an angel. He meets an angel who had a bright key. Had a bright key. And he opened the coffins. He opened the coffins. That angel opened the coffins and set them all free. Now we know they are not having any freedom. They cannot do anything. They do not get any chance to play as kids. They are all throughout. They are working and working and working. All the time they are working. They don't have any free time. They cannot play. Unlike other children. Like other children, they cannot go and play as per their wish. And down a green place, so that after they are free, they are completely set free, and they then down a green plain, leaping, laughing, they run. So they are enjoying that moments of freedom. It's about a dream, but they are happy in that dream. In Arundhati Roy's book, there is a question. In God of Small Things, there's a question. If I'm happy in my dreams, does it count? You have to answer for yourself. I'm asking that question in the context of teaching this poem. If I'm happy in my dreams, one of the characters asks this question. If I'm happy in my dreams, does it count? It's a question. Okay, and now we will see whether these kids, if they are happy in that dream, is it enough? And then down a green place. So they have started enjoying that moment of freedom. Even though it's in dream, they feel it like they are accessing it. Down a green plain, leaping, laughing, they run. And wash in a river and shine in the sun. And wash in a river and shine in the sun. So what do we assume from that? They do not get a chance to wash themselves actually cleanly and neatly. They cannot go under the sun and play according as they wish usually. But now they dream, or at least one boy dreams about an angel coming and setting them all free, and they are enjoying the time, running, leaping, laughing, all those. They shine in the sun. They're shining in the sun after their washing their body. The naked and white. The naked and white. The naked
Okay,
and white. Yes.
okay, ma'am.
Just wait. Yes. Now, then naked and white, all their bags left behind. Now they're completely enjoying the freedom. They're leaving behind their bags, naked and white. After washing, they become very clean. That is the very surface and innocent reading for this poem. But actually, in fact, once you learn post-colonialism, this black-white complex, the binary, the obsession for this white color, and how this person, Blake, when writing from the context, when he is writing or as a part of London or such a culture, how this white color can be an obsession for him, how this black color can be a nightmare for him. All these can be different possible other readings for the same poem. If you have to be very analytical, you can go and check out all that. But for the time being, if you want to read it as an opening for the social issues such as child labor, or if you would give prominence to the speaker and his problem or the problems of his friends, the chimney sweepers, very little kids in general, you can read it in a very innocent manner. Otherwise, we have to think about this writer, his nationality, and how a white person holds opposition or a kind of disapproval for black color always, and how fond of he or she is towards white color, anything white. That is there always in any poem. You can try to locate all these. These are nuances. These are in-depth, hidden features. Sometimes we say, in whatever way we try to cover our prejudices again about caste, creed, gender bias, everything. Sometimes it pops up. Though we feel this form to be a social criticism or an eye opening towards the social situation of the time, or in London, the time period. There is something which is beyond all this, like white, black, binaries and all. We will discuss that when you learn such theories and all later. But now you just see this, naked and white, all their bags left behind. They rise upon clouds and spot in the wind, and spot in the wind. Have enjoying that moments. And the angel told Tom if he would be a good boy, he would have gone for his father and never want joy. Means, yeah, if you obey well everything intact, if you stay happy in whatever you have, if you would be a good boy, it means that. Actually, you can draw the Christian Trinity concept and all if you want it here. Like Trinity. Just about Christianity, the Trinity, like God, the Father of mankind, Son as Jesus Christ. That is God's direct Father, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit. This is about Trinity. But here you can take this God figure as instructing him to be very obedient. It's not about going for being a revolutionary or fighting against this problem, but should be a good boy, obedient boy. You do your tasks completely well, so that you will never want joy. Means you will be already happy in yourself. You will, if you are doing a profession, if you are doing a job, if you are doing something, if you are doing some work, if you are enjoying it your own, then you do not have to think about other kind of happiness, or you don't have to claim you are never unhappy about the situation. So you are never unhappy in yourself. You are already happy in your own. You never think about the playground. Think about these persons enjoying cleaning the chimneys. Start enjoy the cleaning, the task, whatever strenuous task it may be. They are interested with. They are always throughout the day, throughout the months, they're enjoying that. They don't have any problem. So what is the question of unhappiness there? So even in dreams, they are their own conscience maybe that is speaking to them to be obedient. Because that is the only way left out for them. There is no chance or thought about a revolution or rebelling against the situation arising in their mind. Because they are not too young, at least to realize about their rights and the denial that is there throughout. And by the time they become aged or matured enough to realize their own rights and the denial, they become muted chattels because already they are obedient, they are kept in obedience, they are throughout they are made to be obedient, they are taught to be obedient. They never learn the importance of breaking all these chains. They never get any lesson. At least, see, from where do we get all the ideas about our freedom and all? Especially, see, almost always it is from our own educational sectors in academic gatherings. But these kids do not have such provision. അവരത് മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്ന ഏജ് ആവുമ്പോഴേക്കും അവർക്ക് ആ ഫ്രീഡം വേണ്ട എന്നുള്ള അവസ്ഥയിലെത്തും. Because they never react. They are made to be obedient. They are taught that obedience only will help you out. And that becomes perfect joyous condition for them. Okay. And so Tom awoke. So in between, as it is a dream, he wakes up. And we rose in the dark. Where do they all again rise? They rise back in darkness. Dark means hot. They are in their unhygienic condition of sleeping, and they rise up there itself and got with our bags. So everything once they during the this dream while dreaming they told about leaving their bags, but now they are between, they are sleeping with their bags, got our bags and our brushes to work. So in between people come and instruct them to go restart their work or go for working. Though the morning was cold, Tom was happy and warm, but there is a difference that a dream has changed him. Though the morning was cold, it was very hard climate condition, climatical conditions, cold, shivering, unaffordable. But Tom was really happy. So if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. Means, yeah, so if they all do their duty, there is a dream and there is an invocation, he gets an idea like, yeah, be obedient and you will be happy. You never want joy because already you are happy. In that way, if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. Means if they do not duty, we can assume from that line the kind of physical and mental torture these kids face from the people in charge of them. Harm means obviously we can assume whichever situation of child labor or such conditions it may be, you have to assume such a harm and tortures. So now the kid is trying to be happy in himself with such available, even if it is a dream, he is ready to take it for granted. Now he knows once he wakes up, he comes to the reality that it is not there. It is not there. Everything is, we are again back to our the usual condition. Nothing is there. The clouds, wind, shining sun, river, playtime, nothing is there. All these are marking down something greenery, positive, really good. But that's not there. Even after realizing that while waking up in between the dark and salt, Still the boy seems happy and warm. In the midst of cold, he is warm, now happy. So this is the way they become satisfied with what they have. And it's a high and heavy social criticism. And this is from Songs of Innocence, about kids and their innocence. You can mark down very simply. If you see, you can see this innocence itself getting exploited in a social context where there are sectors for working class people. There are see people who are accumulating wealth or harvesting others' hard work. A sect of people who actually during that time this Marxian revolution, everything began to come out. Marxism came out as a theory, a scientific theory, so that this distinction between haves and have-nots, the exploitation of the working class by the bourgeois class, the wage earning working class. They are working every time, but they don't own anything. But others are there who are owning the means of production, and they could exploit these poor people like anything. And now we see how it spreads to the level of child labor, many other difficulties. Okay, so that's all for the time being with the Chimney Sweeper by William Blake. Thank you so much for listening.